Indonesia, the biggest archipelagic country on Earth. Made up of thousands of volcanic islands, best known for beaches, volcanoes, Komodo dragons, orangutans sheltering elephants, and tigers. The mega biodiverse country is inhabited by 20,000 different kinds of herbs and plants, also place where you can find more than 10,000 kinds of animals roaming the land. Indonesia is homeland to hundreds of ethnic groups speaking as many as 650 different languages. Differences is our motto, made us strong by one vision of a big country. Formerly part of University of Indonesia, in 1963, IPB University was stood as the first independent campus to focus on agriculture. Located in Bogor, West Java, IPB University brings strong vision as a leading international university focusing on agriculture, marine, and biosciences. There are 11 faculties and schools, comprises 39 undergraduate study programs, 65 master study programs, and 42 doctoral study programs. There are 27 internationally accredited study programs in IPB University as a proof of our commitment as a world-class university. IPB University, through its performance, able to craft achievements and acknowledged as the most innovative state university in Indonesia. In promoting students' quality outside the class, student club and societies are places for students of the same
to IPB University.
What is the distribution of Indonesia's natural resources? Where are the locations of Indonesia's nature tourism potentials? When do the tides change across Indonesia? Where are the locations of Indonesia's hotspots and ring of fire? Where are the locations for development that are deemed safe from natural disasters and can be used to develop a disaster mitigation system? When the public requires answers, decision makers looking for the geospatially based big picture as a base for all geospatial information layers. We are here. BIG has transformed substantially from 1938 to 2011. Their roles and responsibilities in the field of geospatial in Indonesia have grown so that they can stay relevant with the current day and age. Ultimately, in 2011, our agency was born, along with the enactment of the Spatial Information Law. The Geospatial Information Agency is directly under the President of the Republic of Indonesia, in partnership with the Ministry of National Planning and Development. BIG holds the roles of regulator, implementer, coordinator. We prepare the data and regulation while also implementing them at the same time. As a regulator, BIG is responsible
Recording in
to prepare
progress.
development policies for geospatial information. As an implementer, BIG has a duty to provide a complete spatial information, a digital system to collect various geospatial information that is accurate and integrated with the national and global coordinate systems. We own geodatic information, or the mapping of the Earth's surface, regional physical objects data, position determinant data, seismic activities data, tidal observation data, meteorology and ionosphere layer data. All is available to use as a starting point to develop Indonesia, which encompass natural resources, infrastructure, disaster mitigation, economy, research, tourism, state defense, and security. In doing their role to compile strategic mapping, BIG always works hand in hand with the associated government bodies. We are partnered with as many as 19 ministries and 34 regional governments. Our duty is to prepare spatial policies that refer to the One Map policy. Guaranteed access to information. Credible information. Proper. That is the quality of information from BIG. That is how we participate in the governing of and in the geospatial literacy of Indonesia's society.
Rule of conduct ya. Good morning from Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen, all the distinguished participants. Before we begin this wonderful event, please pardon me to remind all the participants the rule of conduct during the virtual seminar. First, participants are not allowed to share the meeting ID and password of the Zoom meeting we provide to other parties, so that the participant meeting could be registered through our registration form. Second, participants are not allowed to enter the meeting room using two devices at the same time, for example, handphone and a laptop or computer. Third, participant registered as presenter or non-presenter must rename their Zoom name to room number _ full name. Fourth, participants must use virtual background during the event. Fifth, participants to fill in the attendance forms that will be provided by the committee in the next slide. Sixth, the host will turn off the participants' share screen function and will mute the participants' audio from the start until the moderator or MC give a chance to speak. Seventh, participants must turn on the camera during the activity. Eight, participants ensure that internet, visual, and audio connection are stable. 9, participants who fill in attendance form and take part in this activity until the end are entitled to receive an e-certificate which will be sent via email within 7 days after virtual seminar. Furthermore, please allow me to show today's agenda. But before that, this is the link of attendance form. We will also give the link to the chat box. So this is the today's agenda. We will have opening in the beginning, and then continue to the plenary session 3 with the keynote speaker, Letjen TNI Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo, Professor Muhammad Aris Mafai, and Professor Diego Ramirez, with the moderator, Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin. And then we will have a parallel session, continue to break time, and then again, parallel session. Then we will have the last plenary session with the speaker, Dr. Jacob Phelps, and Professor Herry Purnomo. And then we will have a summary from the chair of the doctoral program, Natural Resources and Environmental Management Study Program, IPB University, Professor Widiatmaka, and then closing from the Director of International Program, IPB University, Professor Iskandar Zulkarnain Siregar. That's all for today's agenda. Okay, we will start the event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are delighted to meeting you on the second day of the second international seminar on natural resources and environmental management 2021, or ISeNREM 2021. This event is organized by Natural Resources and Environmental Management Study Program, Graduate School of IPB University Indonesia, together with Environmental Research Center, IPB University, and supported by Graduate School of IPB University, International Program Office, IPB University, and Geospatial Information Agency, Indonesia. My name is Vivi Gusdianti, and I will be today's Master of Ceremony. First of all, on behalf of the organizer, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to the Dean of Graduate School IPB University, Professor Anas Miftah Fauzi, former head of Indonesian National Board for Disaster Management, or BNPB, for 2019-2021, Letjen TNI Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo, Chairman of Geospatial Information Agency, or BIG, Professor Dr. Muhammad Aris Mafai, Director of International Program IPB University, Professor Iskandar Zulkarnain Siregar, Head or Chief of Doctoral Program of Natural Resources and Environmental Management Study Program, IPB University, Professor Widiatmaka, Chief or Head of Master Program of Natural Resources and Environmental Management Study Program, IPB University, Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin, Invited speaker, Professor Diego Ramirez from Monash University, Australia, Dr. Jacob Phelps from University of Lancaster, UK, and Professor Herry Purnomo from ISeNREM, and all dear participants and audience. Following up to the first agenda is the plenary session 3. We are going to listen to the keynote speech delivered by Letjen TNI Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo, Professor Muhammad Aris Mafai, and Professor Diego Ramirez. This plenary session will be moderated by Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin from IPB University. Before we begin this plenary session, please allow me to read Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin short CV. Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin is a professor in Ecology and Management of Landscape at the Department of Landscape Architecture, Faculty of Agriculture, IPB University, and also hold the position as Chief or Head of Master Program of Natural Resources and Environmental Management Study Program, IPB University, Head of Landscape Management Laboratory, IPB University, Advisory Board Member for Water Sensitive City in the Australian Indonesian Centre or AIC, Advisor board member for GSPS Alumni Association of Indonesia. He received his master from Natural Resources and Environmental Management Science, IPB University, and his doctorate from Graduate School of Natural Science and Technology, Okayama University, Japan. He has also an experienced postgraduate in ITC International Institute of Aerospace and Earth Sciences Survey in Netherlands. Visiting professor in Hiroshima University, Japan, Michigan State University, USA, and Awaji Landscape Planning and Horticulture Academy, Japan. Currently, his research focuses on landscape management strategy on pekarangan for evaluating immunity during and beyond COVID-19 pandemic, research on pekarangan for support food security and food sovereignty at the family scale, resilient city and communities in water sensitive city, research on the enabling environment for low carbon policy in Bogor City, global important agricultural heritage system, and future cities laboratory landscape ecology in Ciliwung River. That's all for the short CV of Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin. To Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Vivi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Good morning, Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo and Professor Muhammad Arif Mafai. Good afternoon, Professor Diego Ramirez in Melbourne, Australia. In Australia, I think Melbourne time is 3 hours earlier than Western Indonesian time. Peace and happiness to all ISeNREM 2021 participants who are on in this Zoom screen. On the second day of this seminar this morning, we have 3 keynote and invited speakers who were great and qualified in their fields. The first is Lieutenant General retired Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo. And the second is Professor Muhammad Aris Mafai. And the third is Professor Diego Ramirez. And each speaker has 30 minutes. Due to time constraint, we may not have a question and answer session. However, if there are participants to ask questions or give some comments or responses, I invite you to write down in the chat box. And I hope the committee can take notes and deliver it on each speaker. And of course, if time left, the speaker can phone answer on this occasion. Well, participants, ladies and gentlemen, first I will say hi to
Kato.
Please. Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin, are you still with us? So apologize for the technical error. We will wait for Professor Hadi. Yeah. Professor Hadi.
Oke, Mbak Vivi. Moderator, please. I think in the absence of Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin, we can continue the session and we can start with the presentation of Dr. Doni Monardo. In the absence of Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin, I will please Dr. Doni Monardo to start his presentation. Please, Dr. Doni Monardo.
Terima kasih, Profesor Widyadka. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semuanya. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Profesor Hadi, Profesor Widi, Profesor Fauzi, dan para narasumber, Kepala BIG, dan juga Profesor Diego Ramirez dari Monash University, serta yang juga saya hormati para guru besar dan sivitas akademika IPB University dan seluruh peserta seminar sekalian. Pertama-tama, terima kasih banyak atas undangan yang telah diberikan pada saya untuk menjadi salah satu narasumber pada seminar yang sangat penting ini. Saya langsung saja ingin memberikan sebuah pandangan bahwa Indonesia adalah negara dengan tingkat risiko ancaman bencana tertinggi di dunia, sesuai dengan data yang telah disampaikan oleh World Bank, 1 dari 35 negara di dunia dengan ancaman risiko yang tertinggi. Dan juga Menteri Keuangan telah memberikan rilis pada tahun ini, setiap tahun kita tidak kurang kehilangan atau mengalami kerugian akibat bencana sekitar 22,8 triliun rupiah. Dan yang terbesar, data tentang kerugian ekonomi adalah akibat kebakaran hutan dan lahan yang terjadi pada tahun 2015 yang lalu mencapai 16,1 miliar US dollar. Ini baru dari aspek kerugian ekonomi. Kerugian akibat personel, jumlah jiwa manusia pun sangat tinggi. Bencana yang terjadi di Aceh tahun 2004 telah merenggut nyawa lebih dari 200.000 orang. Dan tahun 2018 yang lalu, Indonesia juga menduduki peringkat pertama korban jiwa akibat bencana yang meliputi wilayah NTB, Palu, dan juga Selat Sunda. Nah, kalau kita lihat Bapak Ibu sekalian, begitu banyaknya korban di tanah air kita, dan kalau kita bandingkan juga dengan data-data korban di berbagai negara, maka sekali lagi Indonesia adalah salah satu negara dengan risiko ancaman tertinggi dari bencana. Kita menjadi salah satu laboratorium karena begitu banyak jenis ancaman, tetapi kita pun bisa menjadi laboratorium karena kita harus belajar dari apa yang terjadi. Bapak Ibu sekalian, Bapak Presiden Jokowi dalam berbagai kesempatan telah memberikan begitu banyak arahan kepada kita semua dalam menyikapi bencana. Intinya adalah mitigasi, intinya adalah kesiapsiagaan. Intinya adalah bagaimana kita menyusun sebuah rencana jangka pendek, menengah, dan panjang untuk menghadapi ancaman yang jenisnya berbagai macam itu. Oleh karenanya, kenali ancamannya, siapkan strateginya, ketahui masalahnya, siapkanlah solusinya. Nah, kalau ini bisa kita kelola, maka pemerintah pusat sampai dengan tingkat daerah bisa membangun masyarakat yang tangguh terhadap bencana. Jangan sampai ada kejadian baru kita kewalahan menghadapinya. Dan bencana-bencana ini, Bapak Ibu sekalian, sebenarnya sebagian besar itu bisa diprediksi. Oleh karenanya, mitigasi menjadi salah satu solusi yang terbaik. Nah, dalam hal ini, ancaman bencana saya bagi menjadi 4 klaster. Yang pertama adalah ancaman geologi dan vulkanologi. Kita memiliki 500 gunung api, 127 gunung api kita adalah aktif. 3 letusan gunung api terbesar di dunia ada di wilayah Nusantara, di tanah air kita, yaitu Tambora, Krakatau, dan gunung api Danau Toba. Slide-nya bisa ditayangkan, Pak En.
Videonya mana? Ini.
Slide-nya bisa ditayangkan, slide-nya. Halaman 11. Nah, jadi ancaman gunung api yang jumlahnya ada 125 aktif dari 500 gunung api, karena kita berada di Ring of Fire yang berada di cincin api, harus membuat seluruh komponen masyarakat di sepanjang Ring of Fire ini betul-betul lebih waspada, dan pemerintah daerah juga harus selalu mengingatkan publik pada masyarakat. Kemudian yang perlu kita catat lagi, kita memiliki hampir 300 patahan lempeng yang tersebar mulai dari Sumatera sampai ke Papua, kecuali di wilayah Kalimantan, terutama Kalimantan Barat, Kalimantan Tengah. Ada sedikit patahan di Kalimantan Timur dan Selatan, tetapi potensi risikonya relatif kecil. Pak En bisa ditayangkan, Pak En. Nah, dari patahan-patahan itu, setelah kita mengikuti perkembangan, setiap tahun pasti akan terjadi gempa. Dan setiap tahun pun pasti akan terjadi kerugian jiwa dan kerugian ekonomi. Kemudian kita juga berada di 3 subduksi, Indo-Australia, Eurasia, dan juga Pasifik, yang dapat menimbulkan gempa dengan skala yang sangat besar dan akibatnya menimbulkan tsunami. Nah, kami telah menghimpun data-data bahwa gempa ini adalah peristiwa yang berulang, seperti halnya yang terjadi di Aceh, bukan yang pertama, tetapi telah berulang kali. Sehingga tidak ada alasan lagi bagi kita, ketika kita mengetahui bahwa sebuah kawasan pernah terjadi gempa dan tsunami, maka tempat itu pun akan kembali mengalami kejadian yang sama, hanya tidak pernah diketahui kapan periodenya. Oleh karenanya, mitigasi berbasis vegetasi untuk mengurangi risiko bagi terjangan gelombang tsunami harus menjadi sebuah hal yang harus dilakukan di seluruh wilayah daerah di sepanjang pesisir pantai barat Sumatera, selatan Pulau Jawa, sebagian besar di Sulawesi, NTB, Bali, NTB, sampai ke Papua. Kita juga mengetahui bahwa Palu, ibu kota Sulawesi Tengah, pernah disampaikan oleh Profesor Katili, jangan jadikan Palu sebagai ibu kota karena akan terjadi gempa dan tsunami. Memang akhirnya menjadi kenyataan. Demikian juga kejadian gempa dan tsunami yang berulang di Sulawesi Utara pada tahun 1845 sampai 1859. Demikian juga di wilayah Maluku yang selalu terjadi gempa dan tsunami. Dan juga kita ketahui ternyata Jakarta bukanlah daerah yang relatif aman dari gempa, karena pernah terjadi gempa pada periode 1699, 1780, dan 1834. Nah, inilah hendaknya harus menjadi bagian dari sebuah kesadaran kolektif bangsa kita untuk selalu mengingat peristiwa-peristiwa bencana yang terjadi pada masa lalu akan terulang kembali. Demikian juga pantai-pantai yang tadi saya sampaikan perlu dilakukan berbagai langkah dan upaya, karena kalau kita tidak melakukannya sekarang, generasi yang akan datang akan menjadi korban. Vegetasi setelah terbukti bisa mengurangi 88,2% terjangan tsunami. Ini sudah kita lihat di Aceh saat tahun 2004, banyak warga yang terselamatkan karena tanaman. termasuk juga di Selat Sunda, terutama di wilayah Banten. Mari kita mengajak seluruh komponen bangsa kita di wilayah-wilayah yang punya risiko tinggi untuk mau menanam tanaman jenis tertentu yang sesuai dengan karakteristik daerah. Kita juga melihat pengalaman dari Jepang, yang mana pada tahun 2009 pemerintah Jepang meresmikan pembangunan seawall di Sendai. Selang 2 tahun setelah diresmikan terjadi gempa dan tsunami yang melanda Sendai. Apa yang terjadi? Ternyata konstruksi buatan manusia tidak mampu mengatasi terjangan kekuatan alam. Oleh karenanya, kita juga memberikan masukan kepada para pejabat dan juga mereka para pakar yang akan melakukan upaya-upaya rehabilitasi kawasan-kawasan yang pernah diterjang tsunami untuk membuat keseimbangan antara infrastruktur buatan manusia dengan infrastruktur alam. Artinya adalah vegetasi yang sesuai dengan kondisi yang ada. Kemudian kita juga harus membangun suatu upaya di daerah-daerah yang padat penduduk tetapi tidak memiliki shelter untuk tempat berlindung, di mana bisa memanfaatkan pohon-pohon tertentu dengan kekuatan yang sudah dianggap kokoh, dan ini perlu ada pelatihan sehingga masyarakat terbiasa. Dan ketika terjadi, maka warga masyarakat bisa terlindungi. Bapak Ibu sekalian, kita juga menghadapi ancaman hidrometeorologi, terutama kekeringan. Tahun 2015 kita mengalami kekeringan yang luar biasa, termasuk juga pada tahun 2019 yang lalu. Oleh karenanya, berbagai langkah upaya untuk mengurangi risiko harus selalu menjadi prioritas kita. Karena 99% kebakaran hutan dan lahan terjadi karena perbuatan manusia. Pak En, tolong halaman 33. Nah, ini sudah kita buktikan, setiap lahan yang terbakar pasti diawali dengan adanya tindakan yang dilakukan oleh masyarakat, baik yang disengaja adalah yang dibayar dan yang tidak disengaja akibat kelalaian. Nah, kebakaran-kebakaran ini paling fatal kalau terjadi di wilayah gambut. Karena gambut ternyata adalah fosil batu bara muda. Ketika dia kering, maka kita tidak akan mampu mencegah kebakaran. Berbagai langkah dan upaya dengan menggunakan teknologi, waterbombing, kemudian juga modifikasi cuaca tidak akan banyak pengaruhnya. Karena ketika gambut mengalami kekeringan, maka kedalaman gambut yang ada di sejumlah daerah cukup dalam, maka kebakaran ini pun akan sangat sulit dipadamkan. Oleh karenanya, dalam rangka mengurangi risiko dan mencegah terjadi kebakaran, kita harus menjaga gambut tetap basah, berair, dan rawa. Karena inilah kodratnya gambut. Oleh karenanya, kita perlu mengajak komponen masyarakat untuk bisa merawat gambut. Tidak semua lahan gambut ini bisa dimanfaatkan untuk perkebunan, karena dampaknya akan sangat merugikan bangsa kita. Kemudian juga upaya pelibatan komunitas ini harus betul-betul dilakukan secara serius oleh seluruh pimpinan di daerah agar masyarakat mau bekerja sama, mau ikut serta dalam upaya mencegah terjadinya kebakaran. Kami yakin apabila pendekatan-pendekatan tepat termasuk meningkatkan kesejahteraan masyarakat melalui kegiatan-kegiatan yang berbasis kearifan lokal dan juga berbasis kepentingan ekonomi masyarakat, maka masyarakat bisa menjaga gambut. Sudah banyak pengalaman yang kita dapatkan di lapangan, masyarakat mulai mengolah kawasan gambut dengan menanam sagu. Sagu-sagu ini ternyata bisa diolah menjadi berbagai macam pangan yang berkualitas, bahkan sebagian sudah ada yang diekspor ke beberapa negara, terutama dari wilayah Riau. Nah, tinggal kita menjaga momentum ini tidak boleh berkurang dan masyarakat untuk tetap menjaga supaya mau melakukannya dan perlu ada dukungan dari berbagai pihak. Kemudian juga jenis ikan tertentu seperti gabus yang cocok di wilayah gambut ini pun perlu dikembangkan secara terus-menerus. Karena ternyata gabus peminatnya juga cukup banyak dan nilai ekonominya juga cukup tinggi sekali. Kemudian kekeringan lain yang kita rasakan, terutama di Pulau Jawa, ketika mulai kemarau, masyarakat mengalami kesulitan untuk mendapatkan air bersih. Dan ini kita himbau kepada pemerintah di seluruh daerah yang tingkat risiko kekeringannya tinggi, agar bisa menanam jenis vegetasi tertentu, antara lain tanaman aren, sukun, dan jenis vegetasi lainnya yang dapat menyimpan air, sehingga ketika kemarau panjang terjadi, warga tidak kesulitan mendapatkan air, termasuk juga beringin. Nah, ini yang harus kita lakukan, dan ini butuh sebuah upaya dan kerja keras. Bapak-Ibu sekalian, kembali lagi saya mengingatkan pentingnya menjaga ekosistem kawasan di wilayah yang kemiringannya lebih dari 30%. Karena sebagian besar masyarakat kita banyak yang tidak paham. Menanam jagung, menanam palawija di kemiringan tertentu. Kemudian mereka menebang pohon-pohon dengan sesukanya, sehingga dampaknya ketika musim hujan terjadilah banjir bandang. Ini juga terjadi di Pulau Jawa, terutama di kawasan Kendeng. Kawasan Kendeng adalah salah satu kawasan yang setiap tahun pasti menimbulkan kekeringan dan banjir. Tolong halaman 59, Pak. Saya pernah meninjau kawasan Kendeng sepanjang puluhan kilometer. Terkupas. Sudah sangat sedikit lagi vegetasi. Oleh karenanya dibutuhkan kepedulian kepada kita semua untuk selalu mengingatkan berbagai pihak. Demikian juga wilayah-wilayah di Jawa Barat yang sering terjadi longsor, banjir bandang. Tahun lalu kita merasakan betapa banyaknya kejadian banjir bandang yang terjadi di Jawa Barat. Kenapa? Karena sebagian besar wilayah-wilayah kemiringan telah ditebang dan ditanami dengan tanaman palawija. Nah, ini butuh strategi kita bersama untuk mengingatkan warga masyarakat memilih vegetasi yang tepat agar mereka bisa mendapatkan keuntungan ekonomi, tetapi juga jangan sampai menimbulkan bencana bagi warga masyarakat. Bapak Ibu sekalian, salah satu studi kasus yang menarik adalah wilayah Citarum. Di bagian hulu, alih fungsi lahan telah mengakibatkan pengundulan hutan. Akibatnya kawasan-kawasan di wilayah Gunung Wayang dan sekitarnya berubah, yang tadinya adalah hutan berubah menjadi tanaman semusim. Akibatnya sedimen dari arah hulu menutupi sebagian besar wilayah Sungai Citarum, termasuk juga di banyak tempat di wilayah Jawa Barat. Ini kalau tidak kita ingatkan, ketika nanti mulai musim hujan, terjadi penumpukan material di wilayah sungai, ketika curah hujan semakin tinggi pun akan mengakibatkan banjir bandang. Kemudian pengalaman Citarum kita lihat sangat positif. Ketika warga dilibatkan menanam tanaman, antara lain kopi, masyarakat bisa memanen dan keseimbangan terjadi. Warga mendapatkan nilai ekonomi, tetapi alam terjaga dengan baik. Kita lihat sejumlah tayangan foto-foto berikut ini. Before and after. Bagaimana warga ketika diikutsertakan. Lanjut terus, Pak. Yang tadinya kawasan ini berada pada posisi yang sangat kritis, berubah menjadi jauh lebih baik karena pelibatan komunitas. Sekali lagi, pelibatan komunitas dalam mitigasi bencana menjadi hal yang sangat penting. Lanjut, Pak. Bapak Ibu sekalian, pemerintah juga telah mengeluarkan Perpres tentang 15 danau prioritas. Ya, silakan ditayangkan sedikit. Ini kondisi awal Citarum pada tahun 2017. Ya, jadi tidak ada yang tidak mungkin selama kita semua punya komitmen yang tinggi untuk mau mengembalikan fungsi konservasi. Karena waktunya terbatas, saya langsung kepada yang terakhir. Sekarang lagi banyak dibicarakan tentang wilayah Jakarta dan beberapa wilayah di Pulau Jawa bagian utara yang permukaan daratannya mulai menurun. Dan ini tidak terlepas dari pemanfaatan air tanah yang berlebihan. Oleh karenanya, pada kesempatan ini saya mengajak kita semua untuk mau mengembalikan kawasan-kawasan hulu agar sungai-sungai kita bisa pulih kembali. Kalau sungai kita pulih, maka sumber-sumber bahan baku untuk PDAM akan semakin tersedia. Sehingga industri, kemudian juga perkantoran bisa memanfaatkan air yang berasal dari PDAM. Sekarang kenapa kesulitan? Karena PDAM mengalami kondisi yang sulit untuk mendapatkan bahan baku, air bersih. Dari Citarum, dari Cisadane, dari Ciliwung, dan juga sejumlah sungai-sungai besar di Pulau Jawa. Oleh karenanya, gerakan dari seluruh komponen bangsa untuk mau menyelamatkan bagian hulu adalah upaya yang tidak terpisahkan untuk bisa melindungi kawasan pesisir pantai kita. Kalau tidak, maka sebagian besar industri akan tetap menggunakan air tanah dan permukaan tanah di wilayah pantai utara Pulau Jawa akan semakin banyak yang turun, dan dampaknya permukaan air laut akan semakin tinggi dari daratan, tinggal nunggu waktu. Suatu ketika ada gerakan, ada getaran gempa yang diakibatkan oleh pertemuan lempeng di beberapa daerah, maka bisa jadi seawall yang dibangun itu pun retak atau pecah, yang dampaknya akan mengakibatkan bencana bagi warga yang ada di wilayah pesisir pantai. Mari sekali lagi kita bangsa Indonesia melakukan berbagai langkah upaya, bukan untuk kita hari ini, tetapi untuk masa depan generasi akan datang. Kalau kita bisa menjadi pahlawan kemanusiaan, bila kita mampu menyelamatkan jiwa masyarakat, namun apabila kita tidak bisa, maka kita bisa saja dianggap sebagai pembunuh potensial karena kita tidak bisa berbuat sesuatu. Dibutuhkan sekali lagi kesadaran kolektif untuk mampu melakukan upaya penyelamatan masyarakat hari ini dan di masa yang akan datang. Kita jaga alam, alam jaga kita. Terima kasih. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan.
Terima kasih sekali Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo. Honorable speaker and distinguished participant, I really apologize due to the network down. So I read Dr. Doni Monardo brief biodata. Doni Monardo is a former head of Indonesian National Disaster Management Agency, BNPB, who served from January 3rd, 2019 to May 25th, 2021. He graduated from the Indonesia Military Academy in 1985 and completed the education at the Special Force Command, or in Bahasa Indonesia, we call it Kopassus. And he has outstanding work, dedication, and contribution in environmental science and natural resources. He is the only high-ranking TNI, or Indonesian National Army officer who is consistent with action and movement to the plant lots of trees, protect ecosystem, and build awareness from the environment by inviting various community groups from first officer to the senior officer. In 2015, he created Emas Hijau, or the Green Gold movement in agriculture, and Emas Biru, or Blue Gold, kind of fishery and marine movement program, a blend of environment, economic, and security approach, particularly in East Indonesia. And Doni Monardo also played a major role in pushing for the issuance of Law Number 11 of 2017 concerning ratification of the Minamata Convention. And on September 13, 2017, also in issuance of Presidential Regulation Number 15 of 2018 concerning acceleration of pollution control and damage to Citarum River Basin. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the presentation in Bahasa Indonesia, and I will brief summarize the content of the keynote speech which delivered by Bapak Doni Monardo. The presentation begins with the data based on the World Bank 2019 that Indonesia is 135 countries with the highest level of potential disaster risk in the world. And economic losses due to disaster annually reach an average 22.8 trillion Indonesia rupiah. So this data based on the Ministry of Finance 2021. And victim of disaster in 2018, Indonesia is ranked first in the world. That is 6,240 caused by earthquake, tsunami, forest fire, flood, and landslide. And great attention is also paid the sustainable water management, especially in Citarum movement and in the Citarum watershed, of course, and also how to manage the upper stream of Ciliwung watershed to reduce floods in the downstream area and to provide environmental services for PDAM water. So one thing that is interesting, there are community-based prevention efforts with the aim of increasing welfare through agriculture. For example, sagu and crops that have high economic value, as well as through the sustainable agriculture practices, integrated through the agroforestry, with the same time also conserve agriculture biodiversity. So that is the summary of the first speech from Bapak Doni Monardo. Distinguished all participants, Now let's go to the second speaker, Professor Muhammad Aris Mafai. And let me read his short CV. So the second speaker, Professor Aris, has been appointed as the head of BIG, Chief of Geospatial Information Agency, Indonesia, in January 27th, 2021. He is the youngest ever BIG's chairman at 45 years old. Before starting at BIG, Professor Aris spent 22 years as lecturer at Faculty of Geography, Gajah Mada University, and his last position was Dean of the Faculty of Geography. Under his leadership, BIG is planning and executing the provision of large-scale BISMAP. And for the entire nation in the next 5 years, covering land area of 1.9 million square kilometer. Implementation of one map policy is prioritized to maximize the utilization of geospatial information for sustainable development in Indonesia. And national spatial data infrastructure is also enhanced to guarantee the public access for geospatial information. So great, very important, very informative, short curriculum vitae. They're all participants. Let us now look at the second keynote speech. Professor Aris, time and screen is yours.
Thank you very much, the committee and the MC. Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. It is a great honor for me to deliver on behalf of the Geospatial Information Agency a keynote speech in this very important forum. I would like to first congratulate the Institute of Boer Agriculture, in particular doctoral study program of Natural Resource Management of Boer Agriculture Institute, for this very excellent arrangement of this seminar. Today, as requested by the organizer, the title of my presentation is Managing Geospatial Information in Natural Resources and Environmental Management in Indonesia. Let me start my presentation with a brief introduction about the task of BIG in providing geospatial data and information, also regarding the definition of the geospatial information of the related technology. Secondly, I then would like to discuss one map policy and one data as a requirement for the data interoperability and compatibility. Then I would like to share some example of geospatial information application for natural resources management and link this topic to the broader issues of geospatial information support the sustainable development goal. Ladies and gentlemen, Geospatial Information Agency, former name is the Coordinating Agency for Survey and Mapping, atau Badan Koordinasi Survei dan Pemetaan Nasional, BAKOSURTANAL, is Indonesian non-ministerial government agency which has governmental tasks in the field of geospatial information. BIG plays very important role in the organizing the implementation of geospatial information law, namely as a regulator. BIG formulates and control technical policy in the field of geospatial information. As executor, BIG executes the implementation of the basic geospatial information. As coordinator, BIG coordinate, integrate, and synchronize the implementation of the national geospatial information. And as advisor, BIG provide guidance for the executor and user of the thematic geospatial information. There are three main objectives of the enactment of geospatial information law. The first is to provide a reliable, accountable, and accessible geospatial information, as well as to embody an effective and efficient geospatial information, and the third, to use geospatial information for organizing government tasks in all aspects of people life. Those objectives are very important to achieve our main goal based on the National Long-Term Development Plan 2020 and up to 2024. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, In the field of thematic geospatial information, DIG has several tasks. The first, to coordinate, integrate, and synchronize the implementation of the national geospatial information. Also, to executing thematic geospatial information not yet being held by other institutions, as well as to integrating more than one thematic data or usage in the new thematic data. The aim of the advisory of thematic geospatial information is to achieve a standardized geospatial information conduct by minister and local operators must be according with the establishment guidelines, atau kita kenal dengan norma standar prosedur dan in order to actualize a standardization thematic geospatial information, several steps are required, which include coordination, preparation of the technical document, evaluation on the methodology adopted, as well as the reporting. Meanwhile, on the realization of the thematical geospatial information, we need to conduct, for instance, quality control and supervision for the data to be ready for sharing, coordinating, as well as the reporting. Dear audience, in the next few slides, let's have a look on the definition. So what is the geospatial information? Geospatial information refers to any types of information that have an element of location or georeference, both on the surface, inside, as well as on the above of the Earth's surface. These are three components of geospatial, namely location, shape, and information or attributes. Geospatial data can be obtained from global positioning system or GPS data, satellite imagery, aerial imagery, hydrographic survey, and other thematic devices. In monitoring and managing the natural resources and environmental, the technology of acquiring data from Earth's surface has been accelerating and competitive. From spaceborne sensing to airborne sensing with extensive budget to the simple idea of picturing down to our neighboring using, for example, drone. It is an era of digital transformation where geospatial is now becoming a fundamental information. For example, Zeljko mentioned the science of where as brand to express the evolution of geoscience and innovation of mapping of technology. So we see the geospatial information, it is not only a product of science of technology, but also has significant role in terms of accuracy measurement, visualization, modeling, planning, decision making, and furthermore in the natural priority action. Geospatial information is the most appropriate format for analyzing current situation, forecasting, presenting option on the planning processes, for example, and representing planning strategy for implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Ladies and gentlemen, a critical aspect of any approach to the problem in managing natural resources lies with the ability to spatially represent those resources and components of environment related to the decision-making process. The adoption of a spatial framework for management strategy provides a mechanism for spatial-based solution to natural resources. A vast range of informative data is collected via remote sensing technology, for example, and field measurement. These data are used to generate a map, such as land cover map, vegetation map, soil map, geological map, and so on. This data is used to generate information, pattern, and research and decision that can provide a strong basis for decision making in terms of sustainable development and growth and preservation of natural resources. Also, the social, economic, and cultural viability is mainly determined by the land and water resources, as we know. These natural resources are essential to the economy since they play a critical role in the provision of employment. They are a source of raw material for various industries, act as a source of food and income, medicine, as well as energy. Based on the thematic map developed by DIG, for example, in cooperation with other ministries or agencies, have important contribution for managing natural resources by using the geospatial data. The implementation of policy and management decision can be expressed geographically. The next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, many types of information that are needed in natural resources management have both an important spatial as well as temporal component. Remote sensing data as the main sources of the data should be linked with other type of data derived from mapping, measurement network, or sampling point to verify parameters useful in the study. So GIS may model various prediction for the future. For many applications, users need to be able to integrate spatial data from multiple sources. The data integration and use are sometimes problematic as spatial data is produced for different purposes at different scale, as well as using different method or at different time by different organizations using different system, and it is typically delivered in different format. Hence, several data requirements are important for geospatial analysis. For example, one, reference data with spatial and temporal element. That is very important for us. The data should be able to link with other data. This is also very important. For example, the link with the statistical data. Also, the interoperability and compatibility for data sharing. Where and why and how the data can be used here and there easily. And the standard document with provide rule guidelines or characteristics to ensure material product and service are fit for purpose. And next, I will discuss the latest status of one map policy, as well as with that one data policy in Indonesia and link between those policies. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that the acceleration of the implementation of the one map policy at the level of map accuracy at the scale of 50,000, I am to fulfill one map that refer to one geospatial reference, one standard, one database, and one geoportal in order to accelerate the implementation of the national development. The acceleration of the implementation of one map policy is carried out of 4 activities, namely the compilation of the thematic geospatial information data owned by the minister and other agencies, the integration of the thematic geospatial information through the thematic geospatial information correction and verification process. Also, the synchronization and harmonization among the integrated thematic, as well as data sharing among the minister, governmental agencies, the local government, etc. and so on. Early this year, for example, this policy has been renewed with the presidential decree number 23 in year 2021. Which is to continue the provision of accurate and reliable 158 minister and agencies. So, ladies and gentlemen, when Data Indonesia, One Data Indonesia is the governmental data management policy to produce data that is accurate, up to date, integrated, accountable, as well as easy to access and share between central and regional agencies, between the minister and other agencies, between the local government and the regional government, etc. and so on. The implementation of One Data Indonesia consists of one, data planning, the second, data collection, the third, data inspection, the fourth, data dissemination. This is in line with the implementation of geospatial information based on Geospatial Information Law number 4, 2011, and also Presidential Decree number 39, 2019, which is consists of several steps such as processing, warehousing, security, dissemination, utilization of the geospatial data and information. Ladies and gentlemen, the next slides. The BIG. Through the implementation of the One Map policy and One Data policy, support the realization of Indonesian Visi of 2045. This is carried out through the integration of spatial data, financial data, and statistical data. so that it can provide more timely, reliable, relevant, and detailed information. This is what we call data integration. So data integration in this context should be understood as the combination of geospatial and non-geospatial or other related information that can generate new insight that we cannot obtain if we do not perform data integration. This presidential decree are preparing the production of powerful and reliable information by the integration of geospatial, financial, and statistical data. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next few slides, I'm going to share some example of the implementation of geospatial data and information for natural resource management. This implementation has been developed by BIG in the several years in cooperation with other ministers or agencies. For example, the first, let's have a look on rice field mapping and verification. In the next slide, for example, this is the coordination meeting by the Office of the Secretary of the Vice President on the improvement of rice protection. It was happened on February 2017 with the Minister of Agriculture Office. So, and we agreed upon first BIG was appointed as the executor of the rice field area verification in collaboration with the related minister agencies, for example, LAPAN, ATRPPN, the Minister of Agriculture, PPS, and other agencies. Also, the technical reference used for verifying the area of rice field refers to the following agreement. The first, the source of the remote sensing data for verification is the spot band 6 or 7 imagery years 2013 up to 2017, which is obtained from LAPAN and supported by GSRT auto data, which is processed by LAPAN and PIG. Also, the baseline data is the spatial data of rice field sourced from the Ministry of APRPPN, which has been resolved based on the degree of the head of PPN number 3296 in 2013. And the administrative boundaries used based on the geospatial information agreed on the one map policy. Before verifying the rice field map, it is necessary to agree on the definition related to this feature. Based on the regulation 1 non-1997, the Minister of State for Agrarian Affairs and Spatial Planning, or the head of the national land agencies, which is the rice field areas of wet and or dry agriculture land that are continuously and or periodically inundated, planted with the rice, for example, for sure, and or interspersed with the, for example, sugarcane, tobacco, and other seasonal crops. So there are three keywords here. First, wet and or dry agricultural land. The second, continuously or periodically inundated. The third, planted with rice and or interspersed with the, for example, sugarcane, tobacco, or other seasonal crops. Then the next slide, this slide shows an example why we need to verify the rice field map. For example, this location was in Tasikmalaya, West Java, as you can see from the picture. As we can see that there has been a change in the land use, that there is file altered in two sharp. So in this process, the temporary delineate the rice field. So in some area, we can see that the rice field are already gone, and now we have other land use, for example, shrub or other land use pattern. In the next slide, this slide presents another example of verification process. In this case, the issue was on the area that has not been delineated. The verification data did not only find the invalid rice field data, but also detected undelineated or, for example, unmapped sites. So for this, we need more effort, for example. For this situation, an area sample frame was created to verify whether the target location is categorized as a rice field or no. So the next slide, we can see the rice field map have been utilized to produce other information. For example, the Minister of Agrarian Affairs used this rice field map as input in delineating or defining protected rice field area. It is also used by the Minister of Agriculture as a basis when giving fertilizer subsidy, for example, for farmers. For the public work, for example, this is also useful for generating and, for example, irrigation map. And for PPS or statistic agencies, this is also important to input the calculation of the national rice production data. So based on this issue, actually the information or the special information of the rice field management, rice field mapping are very important for other agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, the next example, let's have a look on salt field mapping. The stock taking of salt production based on the distribution salt field data need reliable thematic geospatial information with coordination of stakeholders. In the next slide, for example, the salt field mapping was conducted by that time Pak Sultana or PIG upon request of the Minister of Marine and Fisheries and endorsed by the Minister of Bappenas to support the what we call it pemberdayaan usaha garam rakyat, refer to the program PUGAR. It was 2019. This mapping activities conducted by PIG started from 2009 up to 2015. Further, starting from 2019, for example, up until now, the updating of those maps has been carried out by the Minister of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries under assistance and supervision of PIG through the capacity building activity. So this is a very good example how the information data can be used and support the potential natural resources in Indonesia. The next slide says the salt field distribution map in Indonesia. The map has been used as input for policy formulation on the PUGAR program by that time, run by the Minister of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries. Ladies and gentlemen, the third example, we will present the utilization of geospatial information for ocean and coastal natural resources accounting. The geospatial information guiding program is not only for thematic geospatial information producer, for example, but also the user also need a guidance to utilize geospatial information in proper way. In the ocean natural resources management, the integration of geospatial data within or with other non-spatial data is done by the coordination of minister and agencies to analyze and report the ocean asset data for ocean accounting program. Giving the example, for example, PIG has been taking part in building geospatial information provision for complying sustainable development goal. Moreover, to achieving supporting information for natural resources management globally. This also become the basis for PIG to take part in ocean account with the integration of ecosystem and biodiversity values for national to local government planning program. The management on ocean and coastal natural resources is also accounted in National Plan 2019 up to 2024. The priority is to develop the information for oceanic biodiversity and ecosystem nationally. The indicator from the national program is the provision of natural resources data and information, environmental carrying capacity data, and natural resources accounting, and so on. In order to establish the national program, the ocean and coastal natural resources accounting, the PIG has the experiences, even back then when via Pak Sultana, conducting the natural resources accounting for coastal and small island ecosystem. In the next slide, we can see the following are strategic reasons behind the implementation of the ocean and coastal natural resources accounting and mapping. The first, to fulfill the SDGs goal number 15, for example, life on land by 2020, it is required to integrate ecosystem and biodiversity value in the national and local planning and development. The second, To support post-2020 global biodiversity framework, it is required to integrate biodiversity into national accounting and reporting system. And the third, as part of the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economic, and the fourth, as the implementation of the National Midterm Development Plan 2020-2024. For the implementation of the mapping activities, we adopted method from the Ocean Account Framework and which BIG involved in the first group related to the ocean asset or natural capital. In the next slide, for example, the implementation of the ocean and coastal natural resources accounting and mapping toward the ocean account is carried out at strategic location, namely what we call it the Marine National Park and Conservation Area in Indonesia. There are 7 Marine National Park and then 10 Marine Conservation Area in Indonesia. So BIG in collaboration with local National Water Conservation Area, or we call it LKKPN, is responsible to conduct field survey and develop the ecosystem account, or we call it ecosystem asset. On the recent activity, for example, just done few weeks ago, conducted in North Lombok, West Nusa Tenggara, the spatial analysis from the change detection from interpretation for shallow water ecosystem. It's shown in the picture in Gili Island, which is Gili Trawangan, Gili Meno, and also Gili Air. The analysis could support the information for ocean asset, carrying capacity, ecosystem services for local people, and donation for conservation, or even for example, restoration action. Diverse and ocean expert, diverse and ocean expert has joined this activity on mid-June this year to support the verification of validation of the data. You can see the picture, some diverse and expert are joined with us. The field verification result finding that the ecological degradation among coral, seagrass, as well as the mangrove may affect the deflection of ocean carrying capacity and lead to the decreasing the economic value of the ecosystem services itself. One of the actual findings that the impact of COVID-19 on tourism has resulted in the shifting local activities to fishery. The surface value of the ocean asset need to be determined in order to balance the economic and ecological benefit, as we can see so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, BIG has a duty to carry out the mandate of the provision of basic geospatial information, as steering the institution to guide the provision of thematic geospatial information, as well as to developing the geospatial information infrastructure. So, before I finish my presentation, for the closing statement, there are 2 important rules of the geospatial information management to support the natural resources and environmental management. Building an accurate and reliable thematic geospatial information in order to support sustainable natural resource management, not only based on knowledge and technology, but also requires strong coordination, regulation, and environmental management. Utilization of geospatial information has been vastly expanding, for sure, to variety user and usefulness for national development as well as natural conservation action in terms of sustainable natural management. So therefore, this is very important to have geospatial information data to support the natural resource management. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and I hope the seminar will be a great success. Keep it healthy. Thank you. Time to the committee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. My best gratitude to Professor Arif Mafai, who had delivered a speech of managing spatial data in natural resources and environmental management in Indonesia. Due to time constraint, I will lead straight to the speaker. I want to say hello first to my friend. Hi, Professor Diego. How are you?
Hello, Prof. Hadi. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. How about during the COVID-19 pandemic in Melbourne now? Because in our
Yes, look,
country, still trouble.
yeah, I'm very sorry about what you're going through. It's very tough.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sickness, and it's very, very tough. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you also for taking the time to be on this screen now. So, well, let me read a short bio of Professor Diego Ramirez. Diego Ramirez is a professor of architecture in the Faculty of Art, Design and Architecture at Monash University, Australia. His research and educational practice examine the contributory role architecture and urban design play in addressing the significant challenges facing contemporary urban environment, with a key focus on the global south and through a lens of a planetary health. His interdisciplinary research, designed and conducted in collaboration with government and industry, strive for impact, purposefully and strategically targeting policy change and implementation. Diego Ramirez is recognized internationally for research in sustainable architecture and urban design. As an award-winning architectural and urban design practitioner and researcher, he has been commissioned to design a range of projects including affordable housing, commercial projects, and public of art projects. He has completed Australian and international urban resilient project with state and local government and with industry. Professor Diego will deliver speech of water resources management system, lesson learned from Australia. Please welcome Professor Diego. Screen is yours.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Professor Hadi, and to the conference organizers, Professor Widyatmaka, for the kind invitation. It's an honor for me to be here today, and particularly having heard the presentations of Dr. Doni Monardo and Professor Aris Mafai that are really relevant. I think now what I will be presenting to you is coming more from a practice side, delivering solutions on the ground with communities, with partners. Now, I will just share my screen. Okay, so distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here. And as you would have heard in my bio that Professor Hadi has read, I'm not an environmental engineer. I'm not a water engineer or an environmental ecologist. I'm an architect and urban designer. So I work in partnership with environmental engineers to deliver more sustainable development, more sustainable outcomes. And today, I would like to talk a little bit about some of that work. So I am leading a research unit called the Informal Cities Lab, which uses design and design thinking methodologies to forge sustainable urban development pathways, particularly focusing on vulnerable communities and their environments. So for the last 7 years or so, most of my work has in fact been in Indonesia. And my research group is particularly interested and concerned with the rampant processes of urbanization and environmental degradation that often comes with it. So Indonesia is going through this very interesting period of rapid development and prosperity, leading to one of the wealthiest nations on the planet in 30, 40 years. Incredible transformation, but with it comes a period also of natural devastation, and that's what my research group is interested in. We are interested in the intersection of built and natural environments and how to forge pathways that can deliver constructed habitats while supporting and enhancing the natural habitat, the natural environment. So in Indonesia, as in many other countries, the interface with water and waterways is of particular interest and particularly important for habitats. And just earlier, we heard from Dr. Monardo about the Citarum River, and I'll be focusing a little bit on that as well. Sorry, but it has become clear to us that in order to deliver good outcomes, projects have to be of a socio-technical nature. That is, they need to address not only environmental challenges, but also, importantly, attend to social and economic imperatives. So our vision is to help create communities and landscapes that are clean, resilient, and prosperous by developing community and ecosystem revitalization pathways at the intersection of three domains: environment and climate change considerations, society and economy, and technology and infrastructure. And we aim to develop those into one urban model that integrates social, economic, environmental aspects. So in order to deliver an integrated model combining social, economic, and environmental concerns, we are working under the lens of two interdisciplinary frameworks. The first is the discipline of planetary health, which is a young emerging discipline, which links the health of humans to the state of the natural systems on which humans depend. So with the underlying principle that we must have a healthy environment for communities to be healthy. This is, of course, particularly important at the moment with COVID-19 and the pandemic that is causing such devastation. So the other principle is the concept that will be quite familiar to you of circular economy. And this concept aims to address global challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, waste, and pollution by employing reuse, sharing, repair, refurbishment, remanufacturing, and recycling. So to minimize waste and to turn waste into resources to create a closed loop system that helps to deal with pollution of land, air, and water. So today I will be focusing on two large transdisciplinary projects that we have been developing over the last 5 years or so. This is RISE, the Revitalizing Informal Settlements and Their Environments, and CARP, the Citarum Action Research Program. And these projects stemmed out of work, in fact, that I was doing in partnership with Professor Hadi, which was looking at, in fact, the city of Bogor and looking at leapfrogging pathways to more sustainable integrated water management outcomes. So I think Professor Hadi will know this work well. Okay, so on to the first project, RISE. This is a large planetary health project. It's been funded by the Wellcome Trust, they're a charitable philanthropic group in the UK that funds health projects. And it's a large, about 21 million research funding, exploring novel revitalization pathways for informal settlement communities to develop an evidence base that different approaches will improve health. So this is it's a large project with a large consortium of partners that include international universities, including Indonesian universities, Fijian universities, American universities, UK universities, as well as a number of industry partners from the water sector and the multilaterals as well as aid foundations. So the project is looking at the very difficult problem of informal settlements and slums. So we know that in informal settlements, 1.7 billion people lack adequate housing. This is globally. 2.3 billion people lack sanitation. And as a result of this, over almost 600,000 children every year die as a result of gastrointestinal diseases, including diarrhea. So this is associated with contamination coming from the cumulative effects of the water cycle in informal settlements. This is seen as a critical factor aggravating the associated challenges of poor environmental quality and human health. So the RISE project is delivering an approach which tries to address these challenges by developing and implementing holistic, precinct-based interventions resulting in increased sanitation, improved flood protection, environmental stewardship, sustainable water supplies, and greater resilience to the effects of climate change in 24 communities in Indonesia and Fiji. So the RISE design approach is looking at protecting these communities from flood, trying to improve public health through the delivery of sanitation, improving environmental quality and in particular water quality, diversifying water sources through rainwater harvesting and water recycling, and then using those waters that have been cleaned to service alternative productive landscapes. So this is based on the notion of green infrastructure, a very well understood notion of the infrastructure that is using nature in order to perform an infrastructural function, in this case, the cleansing of water systems. So the RISE project is looking at very vulnerable communities that often don't have sanitation or toilets. So in the first instance, the provision, we are building toilets, then delivering a reticulated sewer. So we collect the sewage from those toilets or from existing toilets that we connect to, and then deliver that effluent to communal tanks that are then putting it through to constructed wetlands and biofiltration systems. And here we see a small example of how that works, from the toilets to communal tanks through constructed wetlands before releasing the clean water into the environment or reusing it for different purposes. In addition to black water, we're also looking at stormwater and gray water. In this case, an example of an environment where we would protect from flooding and provide stormwater biofilters that then filter the water before it is channeled through into the environment through a series of stormwater biofilters that then clean it before it's released into the rivers. This is a short video that explains that concept of nature-based infrastructure, where the gray water from kitchens and showers is diverted into biofilters. The black water is diverted to a pressure sewer and septic tanks before it's released into a series of constructed wetlands and then released out into the environment, which promotes health and of course, hopefully health of the environment, cleaning the environment, and therefore promoting health of communities. So, as I said, it's operating in 2 countries, in Indonesia and Fiji, in the city of Makassar in South Sulawesi, and the city of Suva, which is the capital of Fiji. In each case, 12, in each city, 12 communities with approximately 600 houses total, so 3,500 people in each city, or 7,000 people, 1,200 houses, so quite a large project. And here we see the footprint of all the different settlements combined. and you will see they have a range of different densities. So some are more dense than others. The Indonesian communities are much denser than the Fijian ones. A lot of them have interfaces with water bodies, whether they're riverine or coastal or adjacent to lake, and have different typologies. So sometimes in the mountain, sometimes in flat, low-lying areas. So the idea is to develop strategies across these different typologies that can be replicated and upscaled. But in order to do this, and this is something that I'm particularly interested in, we follow a co-design process, which is a participatory and inclusive process involving all relevant stakeholders, especially community members, in the conceptualization, planning, design, and implementation, and monitoring and operation and maintenance of the RISE infrastructure. So we work for extensive periods with communities, providing education programs, capacity building, working with them for communities to understand what are the critical issues of the environmental contamination and the different approaches that we can then take to designing together the solutions that are then captured in different tools, in this case, a large model where with communities, we are locating and designing the different infrastructure systems. And of course, one critical element here is the issue of informal land and having to locate title boundaries in these communities. This leads to what we call community maps, which is a combination of all the different works that are to be carried out for the physical infrastructure and places responsibility on the RISE project or on government or on the community itself. And these are just some examples of the community maps that have been developed in the different communities before they are socialized and agreed on with the different stakeholders. An important part of this is to always deliver pilot trials and demonstration projects. And we finished the demonstration project in Indonesia in a small community called Batua a couple of years ago of about 11 houses. The community was suffering very, very severely from floods and severe contamination, where the community had to use this raft to access their houses. So we developed with the community a project which is delivering a spine of services and an elevated road to take community out of the floods and deliver the series of constructed wetlands and different infrastructure systems within this spine, this elevated road. As you see here on the left, again, a before and after of the community and the flooding, and then on the right, the elevated road with the constructed wetlands that clean the black water on the right. And this has been a fantastic project, not only to work with communities to understand the different elements of the infrastructure, but then also to test the water quality outcomes of the different systems. And we're now, we've finished the detailed engineering design for all of the first communities and are going through a tendering process now for hiring the civil works contractors. Okay, so this leads me to the second project I would like to talk about, the Citarum Action Research Program, or CARP, which is really trying to take the RISE approach, but expand it to include other elements. So one element of RISE that we never really, is not really part of the project, is the notion of how this project can be used to incentivize or to provide economic outcomes for communities. And so the Citarum project is trying to do this. The Citarum River, you will know, the longest river in West Java, 300-kilometer river with 25 million people living in its basin, also suffering very, very severe problems of contamination, at one point known as the world's most polluted river, with many tons of solid waste going into it every day, and enormous amounts of also black water, untreated raw sewage and treated sewage going into it as well. So this is a little video that explains the project. We were invited by the West Java government to join forces with them. There are many programs and many projects that are based in the Citarum. So the governor, His Excellency Ridwan Kamil, invited us to work with the Citarum task force in order to use some of the approaches that we've been developing in our work before to the Citarum context. So we visited communities. We have been trying to understand what are the main sources of pollution, and hearing and understanding experiences of what is it that causes these severe sources of contamination, understanding the very significant context of cleanup with the military has been brought in, and then building relationships with all the multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary partners, with government, with local government, with provincial government, and with local universities. So through this, again, we're trying to find holistic pathways for sustainable transformation, and hopefully some of the RISE experiences. We went as a group to visit the RISE demonstration project in Makassar with West Java government. Some of these experiences of water management can be transferred to the Citarum context. I've seen this video. So the governor visited my faculty in 2020, right before the lockdown, and this was a real catalyst for the project. We had a series of workshops with a number of government and academic partners, and here you see one of the lists of partners. Sorry. Okay, so the project is a mission-driven, place-based, and integrated approach to revitalizing the river ecology in its vulnerable communities. Again, I won't go through this, but using concepts of green technology and also circular economies. So in this case, a loop cycle of turning the sources of contamination, so waste, solid waste, and wastewater, into products, and having economic incentives for communities. So the project is based on 5 objectives for the revitalization. So waterway restoration, which uses green, gray, and smart infrastructure to enhance the multiple functions of the river. Water and sanitation services, where nature-based green infrastructure is used to clean wastewater from households, village, industry, and livestock. Solid waste services, where grain and smart solutions for recovering waste at source and in the river, waste separation, and connecting to circular waste utilization services. The microeconomy promotion, circular economy solutions for green products, services, water, and energy to enhance community economic outcomes. And finally, climate change adaptation, where new green and sustainable water and river infrastructure and practices. So our river revitalization roadmap begins with a demonstration project in the Upper Citarum catchment in the Chita River. We're joining forces with the central government and provincial government on a project that's called Ecologica. Here we will co-design and test innovative approaches to the development of integrated waste and wastewater to generate evidence for river health, circular economy transformation, capacity building, and behavior change. So Here we see the actual community with about 1,200 houses and developing these different approaches across the landscape of the river. And the idea is that this demonstration project will inform spatial analysis and land use practices leading to river pollution and an investigation into social enablers and barriers to river transformation, culture, behavior, poverty, gender, local governance to inform upscaling. And the final step will look at the development of these upscaling strategies through the creation of tools and guidelines for local solutions, river resilience monitoring, evaluation and reporting programs, training and skills development programs, and to inform policy and governance for basin transformations. We aim for the evidence generated to inform support current and pipeline government infrastructure and community development to sustainably restore the river over the next 20 years. So the demonstration project objectives to develop insights into these new integrated systems and solutions for decentralized infrastructure, to collect evidence on the benefits of such solutions, and to develop upscaling pathways. So all of this work is, of course, being tracked across a number of the different SDGs. And again, I can't state enough how important, from my perspective, from my group's perspective, it is that we're in fact working in a holistic and integrated approach. And this is really hard because we come with different understandings, different disciplinary perspectives, but we are really putting at the forefront the importance of transdisciplinary research and the importance of working with collaborators in this way. So I will leave it there. I would like to thank you for listening to the presentation. And I'm not sure that there will be time for questions, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me outside of this forum. Thank you very much.
Oke, terima kasih kembali. Thank you so much, Professor Diego, for delivering us very interesting speech. So excellent presentation. Professor Diego has many research experiences in Indonesia. Water sensitive city in Greater Bogor, rice in Makassar, as well as carps in Citarum Basin. So water as a landscape element, as aquatic ecosystem is very important. I think water is source of life. And the speech had presented a body transdisciplinary research that seeks to advance human health and well-being by transforming housing, water infrastructure, water management, and sanitation practices in informal settlement in the Asia Pacific. Excellent. So, all dear participants, as I told you at the beginning of the session, time is very tight. Regretfully, we cannot hold a question and answer session for this plenary session. So everybody can write down in the chat box, and hopefully the committee will manage your comment or your question to the speaker. So in closing, I would like to thanks again to Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo, to Professor Aris Mafai, and Professor Diego Ramirez for providing us a very, very nice insight and reaching our knowledge through the international seminar ISeNREM 2021. Thank you. Thank you so much to all the participants in this Zoom meeting screen. Hopefully everyone is always healthy and safe. Keep the health protocol well and stay at home safely. Now I return the screen to Dr. Vivi as host. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Hadi Susilo Arifin, for moderating the excellent plenary session. Thank you also for the speakers Dr. Honoris Causa Doni Monardo, Professor Aris Mafai, and Professor Diego Ramirez for giving such a great and informative presentation. The event hopefully will be beneficial for everybody. Please give applause to the speaker and the moderator. Before we continue to the next agenda, let's have a group photo together. To all the participants, please kindly turn on your video camera. Yeah. And to the committee, please help to take the photos. So we have 5 slides.